Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts about the 40k universe. I am your host Gersh1 and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue with the 13th Black Crusade as we get into part 3, where we find out what the Planet Killer will do now that it has come into contact with the Imperium of Man. If you have not checked out part 1 or part 2, please jump on over to the channel and check those out. Let's get into 40 Facts about the 13th Black Crusade. With the Planet Killer advancing on the planet of Earthward, the stranded Cadians could do nothing as the incomprehensible power of the Planet Killer was unleashed in a devastating lance of energy that annihilated the world they were trapped upon and reducing it to a spinning piece of molten rock floating in the void. As Earthward died, collapsing in on itself, a Chaos warfleet composed of hundreds of warships and hulking troop transports surged from the depths of the Eye of Terror, heralding the beginning of Abaddon the Despoiler's fearful 13th Black Crusade. A psychic death scream, more piercing than the Astronomicon itself, ripped through the ether from the doomed world of Earthward. Astropaths and forward Imperial listening post detected the emergence into real space of a Traitor warfleet consisting of hundreds of warships and hulking troop transports. Reports indicated that the Plague Claw and Terminus Est, along with the massive flotilla of Plague Hulks, had emerged in the Subiaco Diablo system. Worse than this, unconfirmed reports claim that 2 Blackstone fortresses accompanied the Chaos warfleet. Cadian Sector High Command found this last fact difficult to contest, though given the state of the sector in the previous months, they could not discount the possibility that these ancient Xeno weapons still existed within the hands of the forces of Chaos. Imperial naval experts began plotting worlds likely to be chosen as the targets for the Planet Killer's attention. Intelligence gathered during the Gothic War indicated that the Planet Killer was a ponderous vessel, and its planet-cracking Armageddon gun could take a great deal of time to power up, and exerts its effect upon a world once it was functional. The vessel was likely to be accompanied by a large fleet, which would be employed to subdue and distract the Imperium's own naval forces until the Planet Killer could unleash its main weapon. All available Imperial naval assets had therefore been tasked with locating such a flotilla. The system defense pickets were put on high alert for any signs of unusual Lord Chaos warfleets approaching one of their worlds. The wave of Abaddon's invasion soon broke across the sector surrounding the Cadian Gate, and it became evident that the Inquisition fortress world of Nemesis Tessera was to be the main target of the first phase of Chaos assaults. This was first realized when the arch-enemy launched an assault on the Kima Loma system. Neris, the primary world of the system, was taken by enemy forces with ease. Native defense forces, amounting to 17 planetary defense forces, supported by the Imperial Guard's battle group Neth, contested the enemy's planetfall 300 kilometers south of the Neris Delta. Going by the few intelligence reports on the situation they possessed, the Cadian High Command was able to determine that the valiant defenders of Neris had held up an invasion force at least 50 times their own strength for a whole day. The last transmission the Cadian High Command received from General Neth suggested that he was prepared to sell his forces dearly. Having crushed Kima Lomas, Abaddon's forces disappeared as they entered the Kenish Gulf, with splinter forces separating to assault the world of Aureus Gula, where no command communication had been received in over a month. The voyage across Kenzi Gulf to Nemesis Tessera was accomplished with alarming speed, with all elements of the chaotic fleet translating into the target system within a week of one another. A feat of astronavigation through the warp that the Navis Nobilite suggested to the Cadian High Command would only be possible with the aid of the darkness of sorcerous arts. Why the enemy had chosen the inquisitorial fortress world like Nemesis Tessera as the initial target of its assault remained a mystery. Cadia Sector High Command's best guess was that the system was chosen out of sheer hatred for the most potent agents of the Golden Throne. the forces of the archenemy invested an unusual amount of resources to this assault. After the forces of chaos made their landing, it appeared that the Inquisition's fortress might be able to hold, yet Cadia High Command could only speculate that the icy surface of that grim world must have been infested with millions of traitors and heretics who had made planetfall upon it. They estimated that those who did not fall to Nemesis Tessera's inhospitable climate would soon be hunted down and exterminated by the blessed agents of the Inquisition, but soon the Segmentum High Command came to realize that the assault on the Nemesis Tessera planet had been put at a prelude to the even greater storm that was about to engulf the Cadian sector. Soon the skies above the worlds of the Imperium and the Segmentum Obscurus turned black with the innumerable drop crafts as the dreaded forces of chaos began their invasion. The planet killer itself, Abaddon's flagship, drifted ever closer to the Cadian system. Mighty Chaos Space Marines trotted the surface of worlds they had not set foot upon for 10 millennia, and their hatred and thirst for vengeance truly knew no bounds. The Imperial Navy, for long weeks forced to fight in desperate holding actions against the seemingly endless wave of chaotic vessels, was eventually reinforced. With their orbital defenses already breached and the fleet forced into withdrawal, world after world in the Cadian sector came under attack. Initially, the Imperial forces held, even throwing the enemy back at Belisar, Macria, Vigilantum, and especially Xerxia and Kandrel. Yet the enemy soon found their weak points, throwing countless thousands of low-born filth at the Imperial forces so that the Chaos Armada's real masters, the Traitor Marines, could exploit them. The Chaos Warfleets continued their advance upon Cadia, only stopping to allow the Blackstone fortresses to scour Demios Beneri to a barren rock. Lightning arcs of incandescent energy razed the planet's surface bare, killing millions of Imperial servants and destroying every structure in a matter of hours. Chaos vessels quickly overwhelmed the orbital defenses of Solar Mariatus, the outmost planet of the Cadian system, and hundreds of dropships carrying Traitor Guard regiments of the now infamous Volcani Cataphracts descended to the surface, attacking the mining outpost and capturing the vulnerable ore refineries from the defending units of the 23rd Cadian regiments. The first of the inner worlds of the Cadian system to fall was the prison world of St. Josemain's Hope, whose inmates were believed to have thrown their lot in with the invaders in a vain hope of being granted freedom. They were granted only eternal damnation, for their liberators turned out to be renegade space marines of the Violators warband, devoted servants of Slaanesh, the Prince of Pleasure. Brutal, close-quarter fighting erupted all across the continental-sized prison, and many of the guards kept the last bullet for themselves, rather than allow themselves to be taken by the frenzied inmates. Welcoming the traitor forces as liberators, the inmates were to be horrifically disabused of this notion, as those allowed to live through the pleasure inflicted upon them by the Slaaneshi Astartes were instead taken as slaves for the Chaos Warfleet. Many officers within Cadian High Command had not heard of the Violators until they had been invited to a closed session briefing along with Lord Creed, where a representative of the Inquisition imparted to them the awful truth concerning these hedonistic heretics, so the Imperial forces would be better prepared to combat them. What they were told about the Violators' activities filled even hardened veterans with horror, for no man, no matter his crime, deserved to have the attention of such vile creatures visited upon him. Soon the defenses of every one of the worlds in the Cadian system were sorely tested, and despite the efforts of the commissars to maintain an imperial morale through censorship of news, word spread of the atrocities being committed upon St. Josemain's Hope. Following a week of disastrous events upon the penal world, the Lord issued an order, the likes of which many believed they would never be required to enact. The world of St. Josemain's Hope was to be subjected to exterminatus and destroyed utterly. The inaction of the Exterminatus was beyond the resources available to the Imperial forces present in the system. The agents of the Inquisition confirmed this, and said that their own ships that carried the needed weapons of mass destruction were many weeks away. Logan Grimnar, the Great Wolf, chapter master of the Space Wolves, also confirmed that none of the available vessels of their chapter fleet carried cyclonic torpedoes, and neither did the Astartes warships within range. The Imperial Navy put forward the plan of investigating a massive bombardment of the world using Nova cannons, in the hope of causing a degree of tectonic instability, but all available intelligence suggested that the chaotic fleets blockading St. Joseph's were too strong. Finally, it was put forth by the Adeptus Mechanicus representatives that tectonic instability could be created by overloading the generatorium grid of the planet's main prison complex. The resulting explosion would pierce the world's crust, thereby causing a meltdown to sing through the planet's outer crust and into its mantle. The only drawback to this plan was that such an objective would need to be completed by a team of operatives on the ground, for it could not be attempted remotely. A special team was assembled in a short order, and given the moniker Strike Force Herald. It was composed of an unlikely mix which included Astartes from the Space Wolves, Howling Griffins, Subjugators, Iron Knights Chapter, 3 squads from 3 different Imperial Guard regiments, a Death Cult assassin, 5 tech priests, and a number of additional support personnel, in addition to an unnamed pair of Inquisitors. This small force was assembled in under an hour after the Cadian High Command approved the plan, and it immediately left for St. Joseph's Hope. 24 hours before the strike force was due to achieve its objective, the evacuation order was issued to those few forces the Imperium still commanded on the surface of Joseph's Hope. The order was given after Strike Force Herald made planetfall. Following the issue of the evacuation order, Imperial forces upon the planet began a fighting withdrawal, worthy of the greatest of commanders. Never had anyone heard or read of such heroism as displayed during the desperate rearguard actions of that day. Regiments laid down their lives so that entire armies could escape to their transports. Even as those transports departed, men stood their ground at the overrun landing areas and fought to the death, rather than board the escaped vessels. So determined were they that their comrades should live to fight another day. The Imperial forces' plan was ultimately successful and St. Joseph's Hope was destroyed. Unfortunately, none of the operatives of Strike Force Herald survived to return to Cadia after carrying out this desperate mission to tell the tale of their own heroism. And those were 40 facts about the 13th Black Crusade. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We're finally getting into the actual 13th Black Crusade. Please subscribe to the channel to get more on this topic. And of course, we have other lore stories on our channel, so please check us out if you haven't already. If you are already a subscriber, thank you for liking, commenting, and sharing. Please share this on social media, guys. Facebook, Twitter, whatever you guys use. It really helps us out, and it helps us create more videos for you guys every single day. We're trying to put as many as we can out every day. So I'll catch you in the next one. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.